months are coming, for my old friends, my new friends. It's really meaningful for me that you're all here, and it's a great support for me also. This day itself is very meaningful because it's Moshe Rabbeinu's Yortzeit and the day that he was born. So for me, it's all like coming together of what I went through, that it was also a total rebirth for me. Just like, Moshe Rabbeinu was born, this is how I'm starting again. And I look at it as almost like my first birthday party, almost. So I really appreciate everyone for coming here and being with me. I remember, like, when I got sick, it was right before, like, all the big chagim, like Purim and Pesach. And I remember Jared saying to me, like, when I was I was in so many hospitals, but there was one hospital, he looked at me and he was, he always, like, tried to, like, make me laugh and joke around, and he's like, Chavala, from all the time you had to pick out to get sick, it had to be, like, during, like, Purim and Pesach. You couldn't choose, like, maybe Tu B'Shvat. Like, Tu B'Shvat I could deal with. All I gotta do is pick up some raisins and dried apricots, or you could have, like, had it, in, like, November when there's no Chagim, but, like, the biggest Chagim, that's when, and, like, he used to tell, like, he told me, like, the day of, like, Purim, just to, like, get the kids in costume was, like, a huge thing, for him. But when I think about it, like, Purim and Pesach, it was, like, the perfect setting for when I got sick. Because you look at the story of Purim, and what is it all about? It's about v'na'afochu, of everything, like, turning around. And when I got sick, that's when everything turned around for me. I was, a healthy woman nursing a baby, and everything was just the way it was supposed to be. My house was the way it was supposed to be, and then all of a sudden it was like v'na'afochu, everything, like, turned around. Like, I was sick, I was in a hospital, there was, like, IVs and blood transfusions and biopsies and one thing after another, like, leading to more. And I remember, when my mom came in, she came in for, like, 6 weeks to, like, be with me, like, every second. And she was pushing me in the elevator because we went to go hear Megillah in the hospital. And I remember, like, looking in the mirror at my mom pushing me in this wheelchair. And I thought to myself, like, this is not supposed to be the way it is. It's supposed to be like somebody pushing, an older mother in a wheelchair. Like, why is she pushing me? Why is everything, like, totally turned around? And I'm supposed to be home, like, making shalach manos with my kids and, just being with them. And everything completely changed. And I remember, like, when Jared brought the kids to see me in the hospital, they were like, Mommy, you're dressed as a banana, and, like, and, like, that was, like, our new, reality, basically. And I remember, like, thank God, like, after I got my transplant, like, it was the beginning of Pesach, and, like, how amazing is that? Like, here, Pesach is all about, like, coming out of Mitzrayim, coming out of your slavery. And here I was, like, granted another life. Like, they gave me, like, 48 hours to live. I literally was blessed with another life. And that's what we celebrate, like, just our salvation and the miracle. So, Purim, Pesach, it's all about celebrating the miracle. So it couldn't have happened at a better time during the year. And just like the other night, I was sitting down and I was looking through Megillas Esther and the story of Megillas Esther, and I just saw, like, some parallels of, like, what happened in my life to the story of Megillas Esther. I was like, wow, like, here it happened in Persia, like, this happened to me in Paris. It sounds alike. Persia, Paris, and just the whole thing of how in the Purim story, like, it was the fact that, everything turned around, and it was the beginning where, like, Achashverosh couldn't sleep at night, and he brought out his Sefer Zechronos, and that's why I'm making a Sefer Zechronos here for me. But in the story itself, like, there's so much about what I found that was going on in my life, and even, like the name itself, like Megillas Esther, I was just thinking, like, this is weird. Like, Megillah is all, the word itself, like the verb comes from, to reveal, and to just, Esther is the opposite. It's hidden. So it's like, what's the deal? Like, is it hidden or is it revealed? And why are they in the same Megillah Esther? Why is it together, those two words? And the fact of the matter is that, like, if we look at our lives, basically, like, there are things that we thought, like, we knew the whole deal about, and, like, we figured that life was supposed to go, like, this way, and, it's like, we know, like, how our life should be, and, like, we don't need, like, help, everything, we're all in control, but then it's like Hashem comes out and says, listen, like, you don't know all the reasons, a lot of the reasons are hidden, but you need to know that, like, it's all for the good. That is the most important. That's the revealed part, that, like, there are a lot of hidden things that go on in our lives that we don't understand, but the revealed part of it is that it's all good and that Hashem is completely behind us, like, no matter what. In fact, if you look at the Torah, like, the first 3 words in the Torah you're going to see are Bereshis bara Elokim. And, like, I know a lot of people heard this Torah before, that the last 3 letters are Aleph, Mem, for MS, it says those last 3 letters. But somebody asked, like, the Chafetz Chaim, how come Hashem didn't start the first 3, instead of it being at the end of the letter, at the end of the word, why wasn't it MS in the first of the words instead? And the Chavetz Chaim said, because sometimes when we look at our lives, it's only at the end of, like, the big things that happen at us that we could really see the truth. And that's why, you'll see, like, those letters of MS at the end of Bereshis bara Elokim instead of in the beginning. And as I'm looking through, like, the Megillah, I was like, wow, there's so many lessons that we could learn in the Megillah. Like, what is it that I really want to take? What are the biggest messages for me and for what happened that I could take from the Megillah story? And they're just like a couple, but if I had to go through everything, I'd be here for like 3 days. So I just really wanted to point out, like, the ones that were, like, just kind of like screaming out to me. So when you read the Megillah, it's basically telling the story. It's like in the past, it's saying what happened, but there is a point where you get to the Megillah and it talks about very present Pesukim. For example, it says, and Mordechai is sitting at the gates. So why is it saying that? Why is he sitting at the gate? It should have been, and Mordechai was sitting at the gate. It happened a long time ago. What's he doing sitting at a gate now? And the fact of the matter is that we meet so many people out there who are Mordechais, who are able to, like, really be, like, leaders and of Klal Yisrael, and not to, like, take a back seat and to stand up and, like, not bow down to Haman. And even now what we're going through in Israel, like, it's just amazing to read stories of people who, stood up. I read the story about this terrorist who got stabbed in the neck and then he, like, took out the knife and, like, how incredible is that? That is a real today Mordechai, and they're still around. They're everywhere, It's like, it doesn't matter, like, what challenges you have. You can still be that Mordechai, the one to, like, stand up to your challenges. Another thing that's incredible in the Megillah story is that it also says at the party when Achashverosh left, there's a point where, like, Haman was, like, begging Esther to, like, give me, like don't forgive me, and, like, when Achashverosh came back, there was, you see, it says in the pasuk that, like, Haman fell on the couch. So why is it talking about Haman fell on the couch? It should have been like Haman, like, fell already on the couch. Why is it saying now that he's falling? Haman is falling on the couch. It says it very clearly in the present day. Like, what's that all about? So when I looked at that, I was like, wow, that is all, it's our enemies falling, like, we could be, like, so nervous living here in Israel, what's going to be with this, what's going to be with that, but, like, Hashem is totally taking care of us, and that's our enemies falling, and it doesn't even have to only be, like, enemy in terms of, like, a person. It also could be, like, our own inner enemies, like, our insecurities, our fears. And like, thank God, like Stacy, she's like the most amazing therapist, and she's really helped me like this year with like visualization, and she helped me to like get rid of like those enemies. Same thing for my yoga teacher. She also like taught me how to be like a true warrior and to be powerful and to stand up to those enemies. And you know, that's what sometimes we go through life, and we need to like remain strong. And one last Torah that I also thought was so connected to what I've been through, and it's amazing because this was where's Sipara? Sipara, remember we were learning Chai Sarah, the Shabbos, this past Shabbos, and there was a pasuk that came up. Why is it that, do you remember what it was? Exactly, so what is it? Why does it say that Sarah lived 100 years, 20 years, and then 7 years? It's very, right, Sipara? Do you want to say what the answer is? I know you're studying. What?
Yeah.
You have to say it in Hebrew.
Say it in Hebrew.
Say what?
Okay, I cannot translate that. But basically, like, Sarah's years was all the years. It says, why is it that Queen Esther was able to get 127 provinces? Because Sarah lived 127 years. And what is the connection between her living 127 years and the 127 provinces? Because both Sarah and Esther made sure that all the time that they were given was precious time and things that, you know, needed to get done. There was never any kind of like wasting time. And for me, when I came back from France, like, my whole outlook on time has completely changed, because when I was in an ICU and like just with bare walls, all you're left is just time to think about things. And really, you know, what do we have? All we have is time. And this is where we need to connect to, not thinking about what's going on in the past, not thinking about what's going to be happening in the future, just really being present of what is happening here and now, and how can I be happy, and how can I be thankful from this, you know, from this moment, because this is what we are granted. And I remember, like, right after I got my transplant, so it was very confusing. Like, all I saw were like people in mass. I'm like in a different country. People are talking a different language. And then very like slowly things started to like come back. And it got to the point where like I was able to like recognize where I was, what happened to me, how I was completely saved. And it was at that point where all I could think about was Nishmas, and how it says in Nishmas that like our organs are just singing out to Hashem. And that's really what it's about. It's really being able to like thank Hashem, and thank you Hashem, thank you for like letting me like go on and like being able to be a mother and a wife. And I feel so blessed. And thank you again everyone for coming.